This week's episode is sponsored by Organic Sunscreen Moisturizer, Sheer Perfection Moisturizer that can only be found on perfectiondayspa.com. Contact Delia today. Are you tired of being stung by outrageous nail prices? Well, you don't have to worry about that at Queen Bee Nail Hive. Contact Queen Bee herself, servicing the Tampa Bay area. 813-414-1405. That's 813-414-1405. Queen Bee Nail Hive. Come be pollinated.
This is thy kingdom come. Let the spirit of the Holy One pass over. Let your peace cover the earth. Lord, let your will be done. This is the time to take a stand, to let the world know that you can. You can face tomorrow, but today is the day that you say, I will reign.
Hello, everyone. How are you? I am Vanessa Klinger, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator. Welcome to Spiritually Speaking. So glad that you guys have decided to join us this evening. As you know, we have been covering Genesis. We've been covering some of the highlights on Genesis, and tonight we are going to be the great Michelle Massey Washington, who will be gracing us with her presence later, a few minutes later. We're going to be talking about Cain and Abel. So sit back, get your Bibles or your phones and pull up your scriptures. We're going to be going through Genesis. So in just a few minutes, but just a few announcements here. If you would like to sponsor an episode of Spiritually Speaking or partner with us by becoming monthly sponsors, go out to the website, www.vanessaklinger.com, and take advantage, complete the form, and we will reach out to you and see how we can give you the that you deserve, give you the service that you deserve by promoting your wonderful product, service, or event. Also, I am giving away 10 free books a month. That is what I do. And if you would like to receive a free copy of any of my books, go out to vanessaklinger.com, click that free book button, and I'll be happy to send out to you any of my books that I have here. Hello, Grace is the most recent of my books that I have. Is That All You Got? Bring It is book number 2, and book number 1, my baby, the one that set it all off, was Time to Transform. This book literally will help to set you on course and to give you what you need, the insight that you need in order to change your life for the better. So go out to www.vanessaklinger.com, take advantage of that, and I'll get that over to you. Let's see what else we have here. Also, I am offering super discounts on any of my coaching services that I provide as an intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator. Go out to the website, www.vanessaklinger.com, and you can see the types of packages that I have and the coaching services that I can provide to you. And for all of you first-time viewers, I actually am offering a free 15 to 30-minute consultation for all of the first-time viewers and people that I've actually have made contact to. Just go out to the website, and I'll get you on the schedule. It's in a year, right? So we're going to be crossing over into a new year. So, you want to try to get ahead of it. You want to try to be able to iron out and get some things in motion for you so that when you cross over into 2021, you're going to have the tools and techniques that you need in order to begin to sculpting out the new life that you see for yourself, right? So we are going to take a quick break, and after that we're going to be bringing in the great Michelle Massey Washington. I consider her a spiritual subject matter expert, and she's going to be gracing us with her presence and sharing with us the insight that she received on the book of Genesis. So sit back. Let me get this right here. I am the producer, director, and all that, whatnot. So let me get this set up here, and we'll be back in just a few moments. So let me get this. I'm getting it.
It's difficult to identify trauma when holding it down is a way of life. Join over 30 speakers as we share our stories and tools to triumph. The No More Trauma Summit is an online free experience. Register today.
Yes, that's right. That is August Crenshaw. She is hosting a online summit the first week of December, and she'll be stopping by Spiritually Speaking next week. So you guys will get a chance to meet August Crenshaw. She is a wonderful transformational business coach for small business owners, mid business owners. She's just all that, right? And bag chips and dip and all of that. So August will be gracing us with her presence next week. So I'm looking forward to that, to kind of let us know exactly what this No More Trauma Summit is all about. Now, without further ado, we're going to be bringing in the great Michelle Massey Washington. That's right. Let me see if I can find her. There she is. There she is. All right. Hello, my love. Hello.
Namaste. Namaste. I bow to the divine presence in you and all that are watching. What's going on tonight?
Girl, it's on and popping. We're going to be talking about Cain and Abel tonight.
Yeah, what you say, brother to brother, huh?
Brother to brother. That's how I interpret it when you tell me we're going to be talking about Cain and Abel. I'm like, okay, we're talking about brother to brother tonight. So let's get started here. Let's see here. Let's see if I got this right. Girl, I told you I said I'm the director and all that. So let me get this set up. Yep, there we are. And let me get this here, right here. There we go. We are ready. Okay, so let's get started. All right.
Yeah, I greet everyone in the powerful name of the Holy Spirit and all the energy that he brings tonight. I'm excited. I know some people are a little down and out because of how things are going, but there's no need, because if you're in God, there is no loss or lack. So we're well taken care of in this present time, this present age.
Yep.
We have been journeying through the book of Genesis, the genes, the beginning. In order for you to understand how a situation ends, you have to go back and look at how it started. Because usually how it started is how it's going to end. And so we are walking in Revelation, but we are exploring Genesis because we're walking into Telestai. It is finished. We're walking backwards. We're not walking forward to the end. We're walking to the back. So we already know how it ends. It's a fixed fight. And so a lot of times we stress for no reason, because I really don't think that we have ingested the powerful name in which we have been purposed and created in. And sometimes we refer back to what we've been conditioned to instead of what we've been purposed in. Mm-hmm. And so as we begin to, I've already explained, if you have missed the previous, maybe you need to go back and catch up, but I'll give a little intro. I've explained that the Bible is a collection of thoughts and the level of the consciousness of the writer. Yes, it's been inspired by God, but God inspires us at different dimensions and different levels. And so a lot of time what we perceive is the level of consciousness that we're at. So we established, we've talked about the tree of life. We've talked about Adam and Eve. We've talked about all those things. So it would be very great for you to go back and listen to those so that you can catch up and get an understanding as where we're going with Cain and Abel. So we're going to be in Genesis 4. And it says, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Those are some key points. Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Abel, he was a keeper of the sheep. So we're going back to mentalities. We know that everything in the Bible is psychological, more so than we have established it as being physical. There were some people that wrote it that were in the physical, but it was, again, a mind situation. So when we're looking at Cain and Abel, we're seeing where it says Adam and Eve knew each other. So we've established basically, now we're just giving you tools. We're not trying to convince you that we're right or you're wrong and we're right. We're just offering you some tools to expand your subconscious as well as your consciousness, your spiritual consciousness, because your consciousness is always going to look at it from these eyes, but your spiritual consciousness is always going to look at it from the inside, that first eye, that inner eye that they call the third eye. I said the first eye because you should be seeing from that eye first before you see for the other two eyes. And so as we're looking at Cain being a tiller of the ground, as we're looking at ground is referring to what we were made of out of our flesh, out of our Adam, which is reddish clay we were made out of. So we're already establishing that Cain is going to be coming from the flesh. Abel is going to be coming from the spirit. And so the competition begins. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's big? Who's small? And that's what we're operating in when we operate in the tree of good, the knowledge of good and evil. We begin to compete, and we begin to judge, and we begin to decide what's right and what's wrong, and it brings about a division. God never wanted us to have division. He wanted us to have a single eye so that we can see, because every time that you have a double mind, you're unstable. Every time you're competing, you're unstable. So a lot of us are unstable because we're trying to have what somebody else have. We're trying to be what somebody else is trying to be. And I always indicate to you, be your own role model, because those are the shoes that you will easily fit. If you're trying to be like somebody else, you're not going to fit in those shoes because they don't wear the same size you do. And you don't know what they went through to get where they are. So Cain, in verse 4, it says, in verse 3, it says, in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he brought the firstling of the flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel. This is where the competition began. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering, but unto Cain, to his offering, he had not respect. And Cain was very upset. His countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, what are you upset about? And so before we go on, he says, what are you upset? Why has your countenance fallen? So what we're doing is we're trying to give God something from the ground that is not going to, as an offering. It's not your money that God needs. It's his money anyway. And so a lot of times we try to buy God. So I kind of think that Cain was using his intellect and thinking that he knew everything. And all he had to do was ask God, what is a good offering? What is a well offering? And sometimes we're placing our anger on God or the devil. And we've established that the devil is a mental disorder. We've established that God is the generator, operator, divine. And so what we're doing here with Cain and Abel, we're still working with our left brain and our right brain.
That's right.
Cain thinking he had the intellect, which is your left brain, and Abel knowing he had the creative side, which is your right brain. And so a lot of times we're trying to figure out how God is going to do a thing. And when we try to figure it out, it never adds up, because God's mathematics and what our physical mathematics are it never adds up. Not anytime. And so that's where we lose it. That's why we get unstable. That's when we start worrying. That's when we start stressing. Because anytime that you stress, what happened to Cain? What did he do? His face got tore up. He got upset. And anytime there's anger, you're one letter from danger. And so you have to go into your spirit realm.
Wait a minute.
And you have.
Wait a minute, doctor. Slow down. Say that again, please. Anytime you anytime.
Anytime you're operating in danger, in anger, it is one letter from danger. So it's a guarantee that there's something in your anger, because it says be slow to anger, quick to hear, and slow to speak. And we're quick to anger, not listening, and running off at the mouth. So what the scripture is doing at this point is leveling off and trying to bring to you the enlightenment of living on a creative side and then bringing it into intellect. It's mean living, allowing God to create this for you, allowing this offering. See, this week I looked up rent. And why are we saying we're paying rent? Rent means to tear up. Rent means to cut up. And so when it's time for us to release or sow into what they call rent, we have an anger situation that comes out because we're concerned about if we're going to have enough. But when you're living in the creative side, the demand is not greater than the supply. And so God is a God that always has the supply. And you demanding it doesn't make it any easier for you because it's there. We're living in a time and a space where we're not getting there. We are there. And so Cain and Abel, we're ready to kill people because they have more than us. We're angry at people because it looks like they're prospering. We're angry at people because of a ridiculous thing. So our anger is leading to danger when we're trying to use our intellect to override our creativity and to override a time with God. We are not spending enough time to know what an offering is that we can give God that's going to be respected by God. God is not moved by your money. He's moved by the heart that you have when you are sowing or giving your money. We're focused on, the intellect focused on an amount, but God focuses on a quality and a worth, and they're not the same. People think the more they give God money, the better they are in their position.
Well, okay, so Cain and Abel, to me, the way I see them, as being one person, as being, like you said, the intellect and the creative. The tiller of the ground means that, he was working with his hands. And Abel took care of the sheep.
A keeper of the sheep, yes.
A keeper of the sheep. So that's a representative of Christ, the shepherd, right? So the way I interpreted it was, okay, so the keeper of the sheep was a representative, a symbol of the good shepherd, Jesus, spiritual, and the till of the ground was the version of ourselves that of the intellect. How can I, trying to not adopt that type of being, right? So there's two versions of us existing in one. Right. Humanity.
And the one you feed the most is the one that's going to prevail.
Right.
So in this story, that tiller of the ground killed the creativity. Again, we say before the age of 35, 95% of what you do has already been conditioned in you. So that's 95% of condition and 5% of creativity. This is showing Cain overcoming Abel. This is
And
showing
it's
flesh
been that way ever
overcoming
since.
spirit.
Been that way ever since. You know, and people,
Been that
and
way ever since.
this is where we got lost in thinking that it was we're battling our flesh and this. Yeah, that's true, or the devil, but you know that it is a part of us. But
Right.
the way I saw them is, you know, because they were born at the same time. There's one person
Now
that's
go
doing.
back to that. Go back to that. Go back to that. In the first, we always assume that it was two different births.
I thought it was
Two
twins.
different,
They weren't twins.
I don't know. It's your perception of it.
That's the way I interpreted it. I interpreted they
It's
were
your
twins.
okay. It's your perception of it. Yes.
Yeah. And I thought it
But
was
when you read it,
humanity and the divine part of me.
yeah,
And my humanity wanted to destroy the divine part of me because
yeah,
my divine part of me was the one that was pleasing to God. But I felt like the humanity side of me wasn't enough. So the constant war and the hatred against myself caused a division. So
right.
that's how I
So
saw
the
it.
war, right? The war is the war. That's why we can't say devil and God like it's a competition. It's a war with your inner mind, your inner thoughts. Now, I did an experiment with me that I wasn't even conscious that I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that when I'm looking at certain things, I will see negative first unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's conditioned in me to do that. So I challenge myself to ask myself a question before I say something, before I perceive something, before I make a comment on something. What is the good in this that I'm about to say? What is the good in this that I'm about to do? What is the good? Am I about to judge somebody else because that's not what I do? It is changing your whole perception to see the way that God sees from the heart, from the inside out instead of the outside in. I've already established or taught on the part of your brain that doesn't know that you're giving out negative to someone else is sown back into you. So the principle of God is that as you sow, you shall reap. So if whether you're reaping words, deeds, whatever it is, you're sowing it automatically back into you. So this is to help people that like to judge. You know, somebody's judging what we're doing because of either competition, jealousy, or laziness. It's an open forum. Anybody can do this. But you have to have a mindset that what you're doing is not based on how many likes you get. What you're doing is not based on who likes you or who doesn't. Like today I did a post, I said, I'm the CEO of my life, and what you have to say about it or think about it is not on my agenda. That means I am not focused on somebody else. Like Cain and Abel, Cain was focused on something else that he had no need in focusing on. He should have stuck to what he was supposed to do and asked God, is this what I'm supposed to do? We don't have a conversation with God until something's going wrong. Now, if something going wrong, we praying, we on our knees, we calling folks. But when things are going the way that we think they could go, that's the time you're supposed to have the conversation, because the energy that you're presently sending out is the energy that's presently coming in, and you want to continue that currency so that you remain stable and stop being sometimes up and sometimes down. There is not a time in that in God. God is a level balanced God. We see things with these, but until we come inside, and I always say, as long as you go in, you'll never be without. Until you come inside, you'll always be without. You'll always be lacking. There is no lack in God. Okay, your conversation about having your car fixed, it's already paid for. Whatever is going on, we got to have the mentality. Whatever it costs, I got it because my
Mhm.
currency flows from a divine place, and the divine place that it flows from is never a lack or loss. So what we're
Mhm.
saying here with Cain and Abel, we've got to stop looking at other people's stuff. We got
And
to stop.
but
Not,
I'm looking at it a little different, Dr. Washington. I'm looking at it like, okay, so think about this now. I mean, the concept of the story. He was a tiller of the ground.
mhm.
So he brought what he thought would be an offering to God. However, Abel, you know, did the same thing. And I started to think about that. I'm like, okay, so why wasn't God pleased with what Cain brought? Because he was operating in what he knew how to do. So that always fascinated me. I was like, okay, so could it have been because I think some of the scripture says because he didn't bring his best, right? So then I took it a little deeper. I'm like, okay, so if it wasn't his best, then maybe his motives wasn't
Remember that God says He like a cheerful giver. Was it so much that His offering wasn't the best, or how He gave that
girl.
wasn't the best? So having a mentality of a cheerful heart. Let me tell you something. God is doing something so great.
And the reason, wait a minute, and the reason why Cain got pissed off is because he thought he was gonna just give him just something, instead of his
Yes,
best. And
yes,
he knew. We speculating, but that's how what we do.
right.
We spiritually speaking, speculating on this, and he knew that he had something better, so he wanted to keep it. That's how I see it. Because what I mean, because he he was a tiller of the ground, so that means he was delivering what he
What He
his
had,
yeah.
right.
He brought it to
But
him.
delivering. Have you ever offered God something with what you had, but your heart wasn't connected to the giving of that?
And then wonder why I didn't read nothing from it.
Then you
Be mad as hell. Excuse me. Y'all have
and
to
then
excuse me.
and and then begin to blame God
Uh-huh.
and have an attitude. But He
Yeah.
says, I like a cheerful giver.
Cheerful
And
giver.
so that's where I went to when we're saying we're paying something. We're not paying anything.
Mm.
We're not in debt. We're offering, or we're giving, or we're sowing. So a lot of times when bills come, we don't see them. We have a wrong attitude about our
Right.
bills. And so sometimes it's a toiling of this ground, or a tilling of this ground, because we have an attitude. But but now I say, instead of paying rent, I said I'm making an investment into where I'm going to stay. I'm making an investment, and we've got to see, we've got to see that thing, and have a smile on your face, like, yeah, I got this to invest.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
such a joy to be able to do that.
yes, and the reason that we have an attitude is that we think that we're giving out something that cannot be replaced.
That's right. And I'm a living witness that everything that I'm a living witness because I never imagined that. I mean, I desired it. This is a great thing about the word and how it comes it comes true. He'll give you the desires of your heart. I remember wherever I was living at the time, wherever I was just glad to be there. And then once my gratitude level began to increase, I found and as my consciousness, as my soul prospered,
Yes,
my
yes,
consciousness prospered, expanded.
yes,
That's what that
yes.
means. I found that my external world began to expand. I went from living in a room and house, or one room
Mm-hmm.
with a bed and a bathroom, living on handouts, you know, doing what I needed to do to survive and live, all the while seeking and seeking to expand and improve me, work on my stuff. So as that began to prosper, I found that my external world began to do that. Now we deviate, of course, and we know we digress, girl. So let's get back to Cain and Abel.
Okay, and so in 6, God begins to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the key things about all through the Bible and through Jesus, he always asks questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason that we should ask ourselves questions is to bring us to the greater awareness as to why this occurred. So he said, Cain, why art thou wroth? Why is thy countenance fallen? So if I ask you, Vanessa, why are you mad? What are you getting mad for? And then your mind begins to accumulate all the data. And you can give all the reasons why you're mad, but the question was for him to expand his consciousness, not to go that way again. So God wasn't wanting him to necessarily focus on, and he doesn't want you to focus on. If you make a mistake, then take responsibility. I made a mistake, God. That's why I'm mad. I didn't give like I was supposed to.
Well, you know what? We all know that doggone ego. Ooh, and you can. I know for me personally, when I find that I have to humble myself under the mighty hand,
yeah,
I find that once I am obedient to that, I start crying or I get teary eyed, and I know that ain't nothing but my ego. I know that's what it is because it was a struggle. You know, it was challenging for me to humble myself, you know, and that's why we always have to, crucify the flesh daily. I really believe that's what that means. That when you are experiencing a moment and you find yourself and you know what you need to do, and then when you give in to it, that release comes. But I know that I know now, but you know, I really believe that if we, on a daily basis, you know, monitor ourselves, and then when we have those moments where it's a, I call it a breakthrough, really, and you hit a wall where you're like, I want to cuss them out. I'm not going to say I'm sorry, but when you humble yourself and you do say, well, from your heart, from the sincerity of your heart, I'm sorry. I really am. I'm sorry. That release comes, and that's when you, in my opinion, you experience a breakthrough. Now, the fact that he asked Cain, why are you so wrong? Why is your countenance fail? I really believe because he thought he was going to try to get one over on God.
Now, why do we think that? Why do we think that we can get over on the creator? Why do we think we can justify why we're mad? I wonder if we were in Cain's shoes tonight, what would be his justification or reason for being upset? If God doesn't respect your offering, and he's the Almighty, wouldn't it be something to just go to God, have your creative mind, say, okay, God, I missed this one. This is when we sin, we miss the mark. So the left side of your brain may miss the mark, but you've got the right side of your brain to come and say, okay, I missed the mark, so let's create another way. See, failure is not failure. It's just an opportunity to do something different or do it another way. Right. Correct. So our perception is so key today as to what's going on in the world. It is not going to be like you think it's going to be. So that's why this is an opportunity for us to get with God and not have that Cain mentality and get that Abel mentality and say, okay, God, now I see this one way, but you see it the right way. So can you help me see what you see? Every day I'm asking God to give me wisdom because there's a shift that's going on in the universe that we ain't ready for. We're not ready for it because we're in this normal state. I hear people all the time, I'd be glad when it gets back to normal. There is no normal.
Nope.
There is no normal.
Nope. Nope. We crossing
And
over.
so, yes, so we're going into a new heaven. Now, I've never been in this new heaven before. So I need to use my ableness, not my caneness. I need to use my ableness in order to go through this journey strategically, because this is a spiritual warfare. Doesn't have anything to do with who's president. Doesn't have anything to do with who's in the Senate. This is a spiritual warfare. And if we don't start becoming that spiritual consciousness that hears what God hears, or hears what God says, speak what God speaks, and goes where God goes, then we're not going to have to keep doing this trial and error. Well, I'm trying it this way. I'm trying it this way.
Right.
This is a key moment for you to expand your super duper consciousness and tap into what God is saying. And I promise you, He is saying it so quiet. And if you're not paying attention, you'll skip all over it.
Sure
and
will.
so when we talk about asking God, why are we not asking God questions? Okay, God, what do I need to do? Or what wisdom do I need to have in this next move you're doing? Because I see you doing something, and it's something I've never seen before. And so I don't have a condition on how to do this. So if I use my old condition, it's not going to work in this new way that you're going.
Right.
So like here, you have to ask questions. He told Cain, if thou doest well, thou shalt be accepted. That's so simple for God to say. If you do it well,
your best. And see, that's up for interpretation, but I really believe that, they say how God looks at the heart and everything, that if you are coming from a place of sincerity, now had he with his intention while he was tilling the ground, God is really going to love this. This is going to be great. Oh, he's going to really love this because this is one of my favorite vegetables. And that type of mindset, that type of attitude, we would have been talking about a totally different story right now. We would. I really believe that. And isn't that ironic, sister girl, that the name Kate sounds so much like Kate, and Abel is able.
Able. Yeah, that's a good point. You went on point there. That is a good point. God is able. And sometimes when we're going through a hard place, we lose that perception that God is able. This is the same God that brought me out of this last thing I went through. This is the same God that brought my mama out and my grandma. This is the same God. How do we lose our perception of the same God that specializes in bringing you in the trance across, through, and beyond? He just keeps doing it over and over. His resume is so awesome. We still questioning his resume. We still questioning, are you really God? Show me if you really God. We're going back to the cross. One of them thieves on the side said, well, if you really God, you'll bring me through this, with the attitude of no gratitude.
Well, that's because they they're speaking to a God outside of them, right?
Oh,
so the fact
you better preach. You better preach. What? Say that again.
Because they're talking to a God that existed outside of them, right? So of course he ain't gonna do nothing for you, because that God don't exist. Because the fact is, and it's the same God that if that means you questioning your own power, you question your own ability, your ableness, because you are still
in the cage.
Yes, so the fact is that, okay, my mother, hey mama, she says, keep living. Just keep living.
I heard that.
Yep. So if you keep living, that's the word, live. If you keep living and you keep getting up every day, and you keep getting up, and you don't know why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and you're questioning it all, and you just feel like you can't go on. Keep living, because when you do that, then you're able to look back and see just how far you've come and say, you know what? God was with me the whole time.
Yes.
And now that I know
And,
that he's in me, I know that I can do all things. There's nothing that I can't do. There is nothing that I cannot survive because I have that God power within me and it's operating in me. That divine part of me is operating in full force. There is nothing I can't get through. But you got to keep living. It don't start out like that. We all started out like Cain, ready to kill somebody.
at some point. And so in 7, he says, if thou dost well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you'll be accepted. But he says, sin lies at the door if you don't do well, if you don't have the right attitude. Sin is missing the mark. I know
That's it.
everybody's talking about sleeping around, cussing, killing people, but sin is missing the mark. There's so many of us that are not killing people, but we're killing ourselves. So he was telling Cain, you know, you got the intellect, you know about tilling the ground, but your attitude is not right. And so when your attitude determines your gratitude, it takes you to the ascension. But most of us are not ascending because our attitude has been conditioned by this abnormal stuff that we've been taught. Do you not know that we have been under a spell?
Girl, that's a whole nother video, Michelle. Let me write that down. We're going to talk about that in January, breaking the spell. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, girl.
We have been under a spell and are not aware that we're under that. There's a word there's a chapter or a verse in the Bible that says, "Who has bewitched you?"
That's in Galatians, I think, or Peter. I know what you're talking
Who
about.
has who has bewitched you? Who has put this spell on you? The government has governed your mental, has conditioned your mental. Your environment has conditioned your mental.
It's where you're
All of
existing.
those things, your government is on your shoulders, and you've been given dominion over your land. And so dominion means that's why you have to study to show yourself approved. Because I can tell you anything. But when you study, when you begin to lock in and lock down and study, it didn't just mean study the Bible. It's a multiplicity of things that I study, not just the Bible. It always brings me back to the foundation because it all lines up. And whether you think the Bible was written, whether you think the Bible was written by a man and it wasn't inspired and it's been tampered with and it's been torn apart and all of those things, whether you think that is true, when you read it, when you study it, the light, the revelation comes on it. And it doesn't matter who wrote it because you'll begin to see a totally different picture of what's been written. And so the revelation that you get on what's written changes the spells that you've been told about what's written.
Based on your level of awareness.
Yes.
Now, I remember growing up as a little girl, reading the Bible. And I'll talk about this on Friday, right along. I remember reading about how the dead in Christ gonna rise first. I really thought that dead people was gonna be coming up out of the ground. I really believed that. I thought that's what was gonna happen. But thank God that I kept living and grace kept me here. That now, as my consciousness has expanded, I'm able to really understand what that means. So it's all about, and this is what makes it's irrelevant to me at this point, if the Bible is real or not. If whoever wrote it had the wrong behind it, whatever. All I know is the way that I read it, it helps me. Why? Because I'm coming from that place of openness and I'm being put under the right spell because of me being open and allowing my consciousness just to be open and allow the spirit of my creator to interpret to me what those words really mean. I don't
We
care
have
who, I don't
we
care if
have reversed the curse.
they made the picture of
Yes.
Jesus. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care. All I know is that I'm grateful that I started with the foundation because it set me on a course
Right.
to
Right.
learn more.
Right.
If
You
this
can't eliminate that.
girl
You
know
can't eliminate that. Yeah. You can't eliminate that. That is your foundation. That's where you started at. I wouldn't change it because it started me there. It's my foundation to where I am today because my mom told me, you're going to be in church. I don't care if you've been at the club all night. You will be at church on Sunday. Now that started me to have a relationship because I
Mm,
used to just come in there saying, and I'll be glad when it's over. You know, how much longer are they going to take? But if that goes back to what your mom said, if you keep living, if you
mm,
keep going, if you keep allowing God to open these doors, I'm telling you, it's so many doors God is opening to Him, to me knowing Him. And as I begin to know Him, I know me because we are just alike. We are one. That marriage that we have going on, we became one. And all God is trying to tell us in the story of Cain and Abel is that you can have your intellect, but don't let your intellect override your creativity and what I'm doing in your life. It doesn't matter about your title. That's the only thing he's saying. He said, if you do us well, you will be accepted. And he went on to say, he said, and then even after he talked to God, he still wanted to talk to Abel. He still wanted to second guess. And then in that, his anger rose higher. When you have this conversation with yourself, after God has told you, this is what you must do, but then you go back to your ego, edging God out, and you begin to have a conversation after He's told you. Out of all the promises in the Bible, how many of us are looking at the promise rather than looking at the problem? Because He told you, no weapon formed against you will prosper. He
mm-hmm.
told you, nothing by any means shall hurt you. But we love to say, I'm hurt. I'm hurt. Why? Because we've been conditioned that if this doesn't go your way, then this is called hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
But
so
see,
we have, mm-hmm.
okay, have we made it to the part where you're gonna pick up the stone yet? Have we got there yet? I don't want to get too ahead of your great teaching here. Have we gotten to that part yet? Because we need to take a break. We're gonna take a 15-second break. We got to pay some bills around here, and then we're gonna come back and wrap up this great talk on Genesis. So
We may
let me
not
just
wrap it up.
really.
We may have to.
I think really, girl, really, we gonna be. I think we can. I think we can. But
All right.
let's see if we can. Let me get this set up while I'm running my mouth here.
Okay.
Uh, well, all these buttons, I tell you. Okay, and there's another one. All right. So now we can go. We're gonna pay some bills right here. We'll be right back, and then we're gonna take a little bit more about Cain and Abel. Stay tuned.
All right.
This week's episode is sponsored by Impressive Jewels by Elisa Carter. Elisa Carter has been my consultant since inception of the Ride Along with Vanessa morning show. So go to ImpressiveJewels.net today. Get your little something. You deserve it. All right. Okay, we are back. Okay, so because that's why I wanted to speak to is about that part. So okay. So he went back and he got mad because God told him, you didn't pray your best.
Mm-hmm.
Sin lies at the door. So what happened after that?
So it's saying Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. So that means your intellect overcame your creativity and you killed it. Then, and the Lord said to Cain, where is Abel, thy brother? Again, we go back to asking this question.
Cain
Now,
was
I already, he said, where is Abel, thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Then he starts to lie to himself.
uh-huh. Not assuming responsibility. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says, and God says, what hast thou done? And the voice of the brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. The very thing that you till is the very thing that is crying out from the ground. The blood is the life that is crying out for the ground. And then you can either do this as a type of Cain being Adam and Abel being Jesus, and how once the blood hit the ground, it cried out to God.
Mm-hmm.
Our restoration of our mind, us getting our mind back, us reestablishing our birthright, us reestablishing our birthplace. And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cries out unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth.
Okay.
So go ahead.
This my part. This is what I want to get to. Okay, so the fact, this is why it's so important that we, I've been saying it, marry our humanity with our divinity to become one in God. Because we can't exist without both of them. We can't. The clue is to allow the divine version of us, that divine part of us, to rule and reign, right? Because we exist in a world that requires us to be human. We can't be human and be in this form and exist here. That's just a requirement. So the way that I saw it was, okay, he denied his divinity. He denied that part, and that's why what did he tell him? What did he tell him, Michelle?
He said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
And thou art cursed from the earth, which has opened up her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand.
Could it be that the reason why nothing can really come to be in your life, nothing can manifest, is because you've cursed yourself. You curse yourself because you're not one. You're not existing as one. You're divided. And a house divided can't stand. So that's why when you praying and asking and seeking and doing all this, if you have not accepted your divinity and allowed it to become one with your humanity, you are not walking in agreement. This is why his blood was crying. It was crying out. This is why that voice inside of you is telling you, you need to just be you. Just be you. Love God. Be you. And let all that other stuff work itself out until the point where you are in perfect harmony. Right.
Yeah.
And you're in balance and you're in harmony. And that's what that voice is saying. That's why it's so important. And it's crying and you can't. I'm speaking from experience on this is why it was so personal to me, because I really felt like I was cursed. I really felt like, why can't my life get right? Why can't nothing ever work out for me? Well, dog, Abel was over in the ground crying. Wait, my divine Vanessa was ready, saying, just crying out, wishing it could just finally just merge with my humanity. So I beseech all of you who are watching, if that voice inside of you is saying, why can't, and this is why, in my opinion, why there's been so much stuff coming out about this and that and whatnot, and people getting caught in all this, because they haven't dealt with all of that stuff, and they're allowing their intellect to run their life, and they're thinking they're going to try to outdo God. Try to think they're going to get one over on him. No, the manufacturer knows exactly what we're made of. It's a
Right.
just to find out what that is and accept that and allow
And
and
so,
allow. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
so it's. I'm trying to wrap it up because you want to
I
wrap.
know.
Cain began to say, and Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Now listen, he didn't say your punishment. He said my own punishment is greater than I can bear. So what are we saying to ourselves about the times that we miss the mark? Trying to be intelligent instead of using our intuition, which is the end voice of God. He says, I can't take my own punishment. Never did God say, I'm going to punish you. He said, and then that's what we've got to get into, is that God is not going to punish anybody. He set a law of sowing and reaping.
Right.
And so when he say vengeance is mine, I will repay, because he's already set the law. He's already said it. If you're going to sow evil, you're going to reap evil.
Right.
So God is not punishing you. You're punishing yourself by not listening to Abel and going with Cain. That's just like those things where you say you got an angel on this side and the devil on this side. So you got a mental disorder on one side, and then you got the the creative force of God on one side. And why do we always choose? Not we, maybe, but most of the time people choose the Cainness instead of the Abelness.
Well, the ones that I really found fascinating are the spiritual schizophrenic ones. The one where one day they be cussing and the next day they be speaking in tongues. Them ones, you know. They vacillate before. You know, spiritual schizophrenic. You know, you don't know what. Well, which one gonna be here today? Is it the one that's speaking in tongues and slinging a oil, or the one that's gonna come out cussing me out? Which one is it? You know, they're the ones I find fascinating, right?
It's the Cain and Abel mentality.
Yeah.
And so a double mind is unstable in all their ways. So we have to find balance, and we have to know that we're not losing, that we're not lacking, that there's nothing that we need, because he said, I already supplied it. He said, there's nothing you want as long as I'm your shepherd. Those are some of the same things he was actually saying to Cain. He didn't say it that way, but he was telling him, if you do well, your offering is accepted. Just do well, people. Just be well and do well.
Do your best. That's all. And see, girl, we can just, we can talk all night. But, I can't do that. Network gonna kick me off.
You got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. So I wanna thank you so much. Can you share with us a little bit of what we're gonna be talking about next week, girl? Just we got the break coming up after that. We got Thanksgiving weekend. We're gonna be off, guys. So just let y'all know. But I got some great clips. We got a wonderful clip of Michelle and I that we're gonna share with you guys over the holidays. But we got one more week where we're going to come to you guys live. Then we'll take a break. Then we'll come back. So is there something that you can share with us as to what we might be,
well,
speaking to next week?
As we're looking at descendants, and we're almost at the flood of Noah. So we probably can skip to the flood of Noah and kind of start talking about what happened during that time.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go over to Noah, because the other scriptures are telling about all the descendants of Cain. And so it's a lot of begetting and begotten, and they beget this and they begot that.
But I think we really, really covered a great deal on, and really got the gist of Cain and Abel, and how, and the great thing about it, this show, is that we're actually enlightening the viewers on a different perspective of the scriptures and making them more applicable to right now.
Right.
I really believe we're doing the Lord's work, Michelle. I really do. I really do, because it's really enlightening to people. They're like, wow, that makes sense to me. And it's really helping the viewers to really understand, hey, I have to assume the responsibility for me, because and ownership of that. And I really believe that's what we're doing. I feel so grateful that you and I have connected. And I'm so grateful that you grace us with your presence every week, my love. And guys, show your support. Michelle's information is in the banner. If you want to know more about her, you can go to, what's the website, girl?
More of the Rock and today'smichelleology.org.
Okay. Yep, there it is right there. Yep. So, guys, show your support. And if not anything, just join us next week as we're covering Genesis highlights through the end of the year. And we're just getting started.
Tell somebody.
Yes. Tell some people that you think that it would be of value to sit in and watch. And, this is not your typical Bible study. This is Christ 3.0. Okay. What is it? 49. God's doing a new thing. Isaiah 43:19. This is us. This is the new thing.
Will you not know it? Will you not know it?
Bam. New. Okay. All right. So, my love, thank you so much for joining us. My co-host, guys, Michelle Massey Washington. My love, I will see you next week. We got August with an E. Crenshaw coming in. She's got this great summit that's she's going to be rolling out the first week of December. So she's going to be stopping by next week, ladies and gentlemen, to share with us this great summit that has been placed on our heart to deliver. And until next week, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Social media world, thank you so much for your comments. Thank you guys for watching, for sharing, and catching on the replay. And until next week, guys, stay in love, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Namaste, my love. See you later. And catching on the replay. And until next week, guys, stay in love, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Namaste, my love. See you later. Bye, everybody. Where is it? There we go. Thank you for enjoying the show. If you have an awesome product or service that you would like Vanessa to promote, go to www.vanessaklinger.com/show sponsor, and we'll get back to you. We have monthly sponsorship programs, ad slots, all kinds of wonderful, great things to promote your product or service. Contact Vanessa today.